Modernization Act set up the process for bringing goods into the U.S. And that generally requires the individual importing from abroad into the U.S. to fill out the necessary customs paperwork, identifying the goods, stating the declared value, and making certain other disclosures about the products being brought into the United States, their nature, use, purpose, intent, recipient, etc. The Customs and Border Protection Agency, when the goods arrive to the U.S., they'll inspect the goods, document them, note the declared value, make certain that they're labeled correctly and that all documentation is aligned. And then they'll assess a duty or whatever applicable duty is there as part of the importation process. They serve a really important function as well with regard to protecting the U.S. market. So to start with, they'll make certain that there's no attempt to bring in goods to sell at a loss or an abnormally low price that would somehow affect the U.S. market for the good. It would run up against antitrust laws, basically, because it would harm consumers or businesses in the U.S. market. This is known as anti-dumping provisions, that these foreign markets can't dump their excess goods on the market just to get rid of them in a method that hurts the U.S. And so if they do, they can put additional duties or countervailing duties on these goods to bring them up to a normal price. They can appeal the process through the administrative agency and demonstrate that this is not dumping within the U.S., but they would bear the burden of proof in that determination that, that in protesting these countervailing duties. So again, they enforce this anti-dumping aspect. And then pursuant to the Trademark Act of 1946, Customs also inspects to make sure that there are no counterfeit or deceptively marked goods coming into the United States. Okay, so basically it protects against making of counterfeit goods that would make the average consumer believe that they are from a different origin, etc. Take, for example, tennis shoes, for example, Reebok or Nike or Asics or Adidas or one of these bringing shoes into the U.S. They wouldn't want that manufacturer in some Asian country to ship truckloads of these in with a slightly different symbol that would create confusion on the market. So again, this is a trademark issue, but similar to the antitrust laws, it's protecting the consumer market for these goods against deceptive practices. And then, as we discussed in our section on consumer protection, any goods coming into the United States are going to be subject to the same consumer protection laws. They would have to meet the U.S. labeling, testing, bottling, inspection, licensing, or permitting requirements that any of these goods would have, particularly when it involves hazardous or caustic chemicals.